Can't wait for the YouTube version to finally see what Rog looks like.
Oh, I hope I haven't disappointed.
The internet is crushed.
Yeah.
No. They're
It's going crazy now.
good save. I love you again.
Yeah.
See, I can see producer Kate, who's also my youngest daughter, laughing her head off in the background, but you can't see that. Hi, and welcome to another Meaningful Money Q&A with me, Pete Matthew.
And me, Roger Weeks.
All right, Rog, how's it going?
Okay, apart from having to bring loads and loads of shirts every week.
I know. Well, so this is the third one of these we've shot on the trot, but obviously I've completely undone it by telling you this, but we thought, right, we'll bring in multiple shirts and it'll seem like we're doing it on a week-by-week basis.
Yeah,
but
I drive all the way to Penzance just to do one recording and go home again.
All the way to Penzance. It's like 6 miles. Lightweight. Only somebody who lives in Cornwall will go, 6 miles. All the way to Penzance. Anyway.
My goodness me.
Okay,
You would have thought.
What should people do if they want their question answered on this glorious production, Rog?
If you want your question answered, then please just send it to hello@meaningfulmoney.tv with the subject line podcast question, and we'll try to answer it in a serious way if we can.
We'll do our best.
We'll do.
As we're going through this, obviously it's fairly new that this is being put on YouTube. So if this is helpful for you, then do us a favor and like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's a new channel specifically for the podcast. That would really help us out, so thank you in advance for that. And as always, as we go through this, if there's any notes or links or whatever, they'll be in the description under the YouTube video or at the show notes, which is meaningfulmoney.tv/QA34. Shall we get into it, Rog?
We ought to, I think.
You're up first.
Right, this is questions from James. It says, hi, Pete and Roger. Thanks for the fantastic podcast, YouTube videos, and book. I have learned so much. My question is essentially about whether to overpay my mortgage or invest. Never dealt with that before.
Time-old question, yeah.
I have watched Pete's videos on this subject, but just wanted to check if my situation changes anything.
Okay.
Ideal. I'm a 41-year-old firefighter, and I'm in the firefighter's pension scheme. I'm recently divorced, and as such have had to start again with a 25-year mortgage currently fixed for 5 years at 4.1%.
Okay.
Essentially, should I focus on overpaying this mortgage so that it's definitely paid off by the time I'm 60, when I can retire from the fire service, as I already have the DB firefighter's pension? Or would I still be better to invest the money in the stocks and shares ISA and use it to pay off the mortgage at a later date? My disposable income for whichever option would be around £200 per month. Lastly, I will probably continue working past 60 years old, but it may be in a different profession, as by that age, I may not feel like dragging hose and climbing ladders anymore. Thanks again, James.
Right. Okay. That is a time-honored question, this, isn't it? So do you want to lead off?
Yeah, I mean, if you do it mathematically, on the law of averages, the investment angle works out better.
Yes. Yeah.
Over a decent length of time, and you got a decent length of time to do it. But there are less tangible impacts on reducing the mortgage instead.
Okay.
You know, I mean, the emotional burden of having the mortgage on your shoulders, and if that could be lifted earlier, how would you feel?
Yeah.
You know,
Can't put a number on that.
No, and in a way, if that's lower and you haven't got to work, then working becomes easier.
Yes. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Makes perfect sense. If you are reducing the mortgage as you go, see that little snap from one camera to the other, that was silky. If you are if you're paying off the mortgage and reducing it as you go, then, you know, as your fixed rates come up, there's a chance you could be down to a lower loan to value notch, you know, down below, say, 80% loan to value or whatever. And very often you get better interest rates at the lower loans to value because there's less risk to the lender. You know, if you trade up or down in future, then, you know, you might be borrowing less or you may have less to clear. So, you know, there's some sort of certainties that you get with paying down your mortgage.
Yeah. And the other certainty, obviously, is that you're guaranteeing the interest return because you're saving the interest. You know what it is. Whereas with an investment, you can never guarantee what you get. But over the longer term, as we say, it does grow probably quicker than your mortgage would. Yeah. But, you know, you're guaranteed the savings. And if you imagine your mortgage is at 4.1, that to save at that level, if you're paying, you're going to be a taxpayer, you're going to have to be, you know, earning interest at over 5%, which you're not going to get at the minute.
Yeah.
But if you went to investment, then it could likely happen.
I like because you put these notes together. This last one.
It's ideal for you, this one, actually.
How did I know you were thinking of me when you wrote this? Removes the temptation. You know, obviously, if you've used it to pay off your mortgage, then, you know, it's more difficult to re-borrow it down than it is to just dip into an ISA or whatever. So depending on how disciplined you are or not, I can sort of resent this, but I can't deny that you're right. Depending on how disciplined you are, you may be more tempted to dip into an ISA, which is just more problematic and hassly. You'd have to contact your mortgage provider if you wanted to borrow it back on the mortgage. So paying off the mortgage can be a useful little behavioral angle as well. Yeah. Something to think about.
No, I wasn't thinking about you when I put this down, but I've come across it with lots of clients that say, well, look, if you had a lump of money behind you that you've amassed over time, it would be so easy just to dip into it and pull it out and do something else with it. Yeah. Rather than use it for what it's planned for,
Good save. I love you again.
Yeah.
Okay, this is question 2. See, I can see producer Kate, who's also my youngest daughter, laughing her head off in the background, but you can't see that. No. I have to have a producer cam. Okay. Hi, Pete and Roger. This is from Matt and Belle. Hi, Pete and Roger. I've been listening to your brilliant podcast since COVID, so around 5 years now, and always look forward to the new episode coming out. Thank you very much. I don't really have a financial-related question for you, more some advice. My hackles went up initially because we don't give advice on this show, but we'll see what you mean. I've tried to educate my daughter on personal finance, and I think she now has a good grasp and is interested in becoming a financial advisor. She is now 19, has got decent A-levels, and has just completed an art foundation course. She has university offers for September, which is deferred because she doesn't really want to go. We live in West Kent, near Tunbridge Wells, and I've been looking for a trainee, bottom of the rung, financial advisor jobs for her, but I can't seem to find anything. Don't think you will. She could commute to London if required, but would rather stay local if possible. Do either of you have any suggestions about how she might be able to get into the industry? We're happy to pay for courses if that helps her, but not sure what would be best. Sorry for the long email. Any advice would be very gratefully received. All the best and keep up the great work. Matt and Belle Hart. That is not a long email.
That's not a long email at all.
Not compared to some that we get. So we mentioned some stuff on becoming an advisor last week. There was a very specific question about it, exams and things like that. So definitely check that out. I did an old podcast episode back in 2019, and not a great deal's changed since then.
No.
Not in terms of the minimum sort of standards that of exams that you have to be an advisor. But this is slightly different. Matt and Belle are looking for, I wonder if Belle is the daughter. Anyway, could be. He's looking for, how does he put it, trainee, bottom of the rung financial advisor jobs. You're going to struggle with that.
Yes.
I think part of that is because so much of the industry is still quite salesy. So it's still, people want, either existing sales skills or maybe want a client bank to come with an advisor that they take on. But you may find somebody with entry-level jobs, but they won't be probably advising. There will be one of the other roles that we tend to have in the profession. Do you want to say what they are?
Yeah, you could start off as advisor support, like administrator behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You would then be liaising with the financial advisor.
Yeah, and the clients.
And the clients to make sure that you get the information you need. And from that point, you'll actually learn what happens behind the scenes, really, from financial advice. We've had several people start like that. And it's a great way of learning what it's all about, because you may then, as we said in last week's episode, might decide that actually the advising bit is not for you. It may be the behind the scenes power planning.
Yeah.
So doing some of the planning, but still liaising with clients and the advisor for you. So that might be a way in. I mean, you don't have to have any experience from a financial advice practice to become an advisor support, really.
No, that's right. And because you could learn it all on the job. So we've got 2 guys who work for us who are now advising, but who joined us as what we call CRMs, client relationship managers. So admin and advisor support, but very client-facing as well, not giving advice, but just in terms of administration and relationship. And then they took their exams and became power planners. So they learnt the technical side of the craft, writing reports, writing letters, liaising with the advisors to give advice kind of collaboratively. And now they've made the step to become client-facing advisors in their own right. And Jacob, who was one of them, said to me the other day, I can't imagine doing this job, by which he means advising, without having at least gone through power planning first, learning the job, learning the technical stuff, and then finally, applying it face-to-face with a client. That's not to say that it's a hierarchy or even each one is just the stepping stone to the ultimate goal of being advisor. It is for some people, but each one of those is a sort of a noble and noteworthy profession in their own right. So we've got just absolute master CRMs who just, I mean, they run rings around me in terms of the stuff that they do day to day. I couldn't begin to do what they do. You know, and I do what I do and they do what they do, and it's a brilliant sort of team. So I would maybe look for a kind of entry-level role, maybe in admin, advisor support, and learn as you go. But she could be doing exams as well.
Yeah, I mean, that you can actually do the exams without being part of the industry already.
Yeah,
so you can actually sit at home and go through the exams, and we spoke about that again last week, about the different routes you can do to take exams to become an advisor. Now, if that's your ultimate plan, you could do that. And in fact, Jacksons are going to hire in the new year, I think.
Yes.
Someone who has been doing a completely different job elsewhere, but actually saw this as a route and said, actually, what do I need to do? And he has gone and studied. Yeah. And he's very close to finishing the exam.
He'll have certainly 5 out of the 6 exams to be an advisor, technically, when he joins us in February. But he's not going to join us as an advisor. That's quite a step to come in at that level. He's going to join us as a trainee paraplanner.
Yeah.
So he'll learn the technical stuff. He'll have learned it in exams, but he'll learn to apply it to real-life situations, working with the advisors to deliver that advice. And then, but his goal is to be an advisor. Yeah. So, you know, your daughter, Matt, could do the same thing. I would be writing to local firms, maybe seek work experience to start with. Use the CISI Wayfinder website to look for a good financial planning firm somewhere near Tunbridge Wells. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, somewhere around there, somewhere within an easy commute, and maybe just ask for a week's work experience, right? A decent firm will offer it if they can, all right? We do it pretty frequently these days. We have people in for work experience because we're really keen to promote it as a role particularly to local people here in Cornwall. So, you know, look for a firm, maybe just do some work experience, and then who knows, a job vacancy might come out of that. It certainly won't be the first time. So, you put here actually about Demi. So Demi's one of our advisors, senior advisors at Jackson's. Yeah,
I mean, she was with a different firm. She was taking her exams with a firm, but she wasn't an advisor in any way.
No.
At all.
Remember, she got to this and said, "Look, I'm bored by 11 in the morning." She'd done everything that she could possibly do in that role.
And the crazy thing was that the firm put her through lots of exams, and then she would end up photocopying stuff. And it's like, why want to do it? And she contacted us directly because she knew how good we were. And then there wasn't a vacancy available, so we kept her CV, and actually, she contacted us again a while later and said, "Look, I'm still interested in coming to you." And just at that point, we had a vacancy popping up. It's like, "Well, come on and have a chat."
Yeah.
And from there, she's gone on great shakes.
She's an astonishingly talented advisor, and you know we're very lucky to have her. So it's definitely doable. Right, just takes a bit of work and thinking, but yes, she can do the exams without actually working in the role. It will help her get a better job. But I would be looking for entry-level sort of administrator, CRM jobs.
And a bit of proactivity would pay in spades, to be honest. And then you might find that she can get a different job for the next 12 months. Yeah. Or even 2 years and do her exams while she's doing that at the same time if one doesn't crop up straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Question 3. This is yours, Rog.
Question 3 from Adam says, "Hello to Pete and Rog." Hello to Adam. Thanks for the podcast so far. My family is in a much sounder financial footing since I've started putting into action some of the basics you've spoken about previously. ISAs, pensions and insurance all taken along nicely now. Thank you.
Superb.
Well, you've done the work.
Yeah.
I have a question about my pension. Is it possible to add too much?
I love this question.
My thoughts are, if my pension pot in today's money is worth 1.25 million when I retire, I can take the £250,000 worth of tax-free and $40,000 a year thereafter. Any more than this, and I will be paying 40% tax on my drawings. Are there benefits I'm missing of having a larger pot, say £2 million? Not one I need to worry about yet, if at all, but it's always puzzled me. Many thanks for the content. Keep up the good work and enjoy the sunshine this weekend. Adam.
Yeah, this has been coming up a little bit recently, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
That's got to be because of pensions coming into the
inheritance tax rules and the limit of the tax-free cash at a set level now is not going to move.
Yeah, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think the first thing that literally a broad brush that came to me straight away when I heard this was like, I've never had a client complain they've had a pension that's too big.
No.
They complain they have never had not enough, but
Yeah.
not too big. You can never have too much money, I'd say.
No, well, at least in the abstract.
Yeah, and yeah. A bigger fund gives you more flexibility, Adam. You know, it might enable you to retire early or go part-time somewhere and do something else. Or it could be a bigger income to live a better life with.
Yeah.
I think don't necessarily worry about paying the tax.
Yeah, this is almost a textbook case of letting the tax tail wag the dog. And not only that, but it's like future, way down the line tax tail, wagging the dog now. So, yes, you might end up paying higher rate tax on some of your pension. I remember back in the day, it was my ambition to be a higher rate taxpayer. You know, because you knew if you're paying higher rate tax, then you're earning well. You know, remember, you still get to keep, if you're paying 40% tax, you still get to keep 60% of what you're drawing. So that's not a bad deal, really. And particularly not as a lot of that pot that you're drawing down on won't be your own money. It'll be in the growth you've had, and it'll have been, you know, tax relief and maybe even employers' contributions as well. So paying a little bit of that back in return for having all that benefit over the years, that's pretty valuable. And you know, you won't want to only draw 40,000 quid a year so that you're only paying 20% tax when you could draw 80,000 quid a year and pay, you know, a chunk of tax pay 40% on half of it, because you're still going to have a lot more money coming in every month.
Yeah, it's one of the questions or comments that clients mentioned to me in the past is like, oh, I don't want to pay higher rate tax in my retirement. It's like, I really, really want to.
Yeah.
You know, and because it means you've got more money coming through the door than you had. I did a very quick example here. Is don't worry about the 40%. It's going to play in your mind. It's bound to, isn't it? But if you drew 50,000 instead of 40,000,
Okay.
so you paid 20% on 40 because you assuming the state pension has used up your personal allowance. The extra 10 is being charged at 40%. Well, actually, if you average that across the whole lot, you're paying £12,000 worth of income tax on a 50,000 withdrawal. It's a rate of 24%. So don't concentrate on the 40. Think, if I had a bit more, I'll pay 40% on it. But actually, in the scheme of things, how much tax am I paying overall?
Yeah, very important. That's funny you put it in that numbers. That's quite profound, actually. It's 24% on it all.
Yeah.
Not 40% on some of it.
No. And if you think you've drawn 50 and got 12 from the government, you got an income of 62 grand and you've only paid 24% tax.
State pension, you mean there? Yeah?
State pension.
Yeah, okay. I know, it's not too shabby, really. Look, and you could give some of the extra away.
Yeah.
You know, it gives you flexibility to do stuff like that. So if you're drawing more from your pension, more than you need to actually spend, you know, you could give that to family or causes you care about, whatever. You mentioned here about annuity potentially as well.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering whether it's the fact that this now will fall into inheritance tax planning, which a lot of people are worried about. Annuity rates, and annuities are not a big thing that we do these days because of the flexibility from drawdown. But I think a lot of people may have taken their eye off the ball of guaranteeing what they need to spend every day. And annuity rates have improved. So you might consider buying an annuity with part of your pension plan at that point in time.
Yep.
And that money you've used to buy the annuity is immediately away from your estate.
Yeah.
Because it's spent.
Yeah, spent. Good shout. Okay. Good question. I imagine that's going to keep coming up for a bit. Okay. The granddaddy of questions from Nick, but he says some nice things. This is a problem, you see. You say some nice things to us and we just go, okay, we'll read your
They get through
war
the
and peace
filter.
of a question then. Okay. Hi, Pete and Rog. I've been a long-time listener and I've loved your double act with the self-effacing banter alongside sound, sensible guidance on the minefield that personal finance can often seem to be. Listening whilst walking the dog is like chewing the fat down the pub with a couple of great friends. That's nice.
That's nice to hear.
So my situation is this: 47 years old, married with 2 kids, 11 and 14. Myself and my wife both have good jobs, own jointly in our own names 8 buy-to-let properties, generating a profit. Equity in the portfolio is around 400,000. Portfolio was built to provide additional income and to support us in retirement, either the income or by selling the properties. We have our own home, which is mortgaged, and we're in the process of moving to a bigger place as we're growing out of where we are. This will come with a bigger mortgage as we're scaling up, so to minimize the increase in monthly payments, we're increasing the term back to our state retirement ages, which is a bit depressing. Then Nick just goes into some detail about his pensions, which are not really necessary, I don't think, for context here. So he says, so our ideal plan is to have the choice to semi-retire or work as much as little as we want by age 57, so around 10 years from now. We are not sure whether this is realistic and the best way to set things up to achieve it, if it is. We would probably still work part-time beyond 57, but would want to have other sources of income that could support a comfortable lifestyle. To add to the complexity, but in a good way, I'm also in the process of changing jobs, and the new job comes with a £20,000 per annum pay rise and a matched pension at 6%. This is obviously lower than my current, I say obviously because I skipped that, it's lower than my current employer's scheme where he gets a matched 9%, but I plan to at least match what currently goes into my current employer's pension one way or the other. So after what must be one of the longest preambles you've ever read, here are my questions. It's a lot shorter than it was. In terms of where we are now, do you think getting to a position where we have a choice to retire or semi-retire in 10 years is realistic? And what are the key things we should be doing now, 10 years out, taking into account our circumstances? Well, look, I've cut out a lot of the detail for good reason, because we can't say. I mean, it's an unknowable sort of thing anyway, because obviously your numbers are unique to you, and if we're planning forward, we're using assumptions. We don't know if they're going to be right, but I think this is unknowable without a cash flow model, and even then it's educated guesswork. But the thing that stood out to me was I would be banking as much of this pay rise as I could.
Yes, even if needs be, overpaying some of your home mortgage.
Yeah,
to rush that down, because that will give you more flexibility in the future as well. Increase your ISA savings if you're able to. But if you got that pay rise, it makes sense to
put it
bank
to use.
as much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, it might be it depends if the mortgage payment, I suppose, is increasing. But what they've said is to put it back. They've put the term back. Maybe the mortgage isn't increasing very much. The mortgage payment, maybe it is, but you've got the money to do it. So you're going to be increasing your pension contribution. I would just put as much of that pay rise to use as possible. But we can't tell you whether you're going to get there or not. That's an unknowable question, right? How would you approach the pension situation with my change of employer? My thought was to make contributions to my private pension to cover the overall reduction, 9% matched down to 6% matched, between employers, so that I'm still putting in 18% overall. I think I may be able to put as much as I like into my new employer's scheme, though they'll only match 6%. So would this be a better option? So this is really... Does he use the new employer scheme, or does he pay into a personal scheme?
It doesn't really matter. Not really. As long as you do one of them. If you're used to paying that amount, although you'll be paying more personally, but you're earning more. So you could afford to make sure you keep an effective 18% contribution level.
Which is banging, isn't it? I mean, that's
which is really good going. I mean, 12% is good going. Two lots of 6. Part of me says, well, take the employer match to 6 and then perhaps throw the rest into your mortgage.
Yeah. I mean, you could model the impact of that if you wanted to. MeaningfulAcademy.com, right? /build wealth in this case, and just have a look because you get access to the same modeling tool that we use. And you could build these scenarios. You know, what if I pay more into the pension versus overpaying the mortgage? What would the impact be? In terms of our mortgage in 10 years, it will still be around $350,000. So we would want to reduce this significantly, or even pay off in full at that point. My thought was to sell 5 or 6 of the buy-to-lets over 5 years, leading up to age 57, to pay it down. However, this obviously reduces our passive income from the portfolio, and we pay a chunk of capital gains tax along the way. Are there any better ways of achieving the same result? Well, you can't
have your cake and eat it.
No, exactly. So you can't sort of have the income from the buy-to-lets and realise the capital. That's the one thing about property. You've got to sell them to realise the capital, haven't you? It's true of anything, I suppose. So you can't benefit from the gains in the property prices and keep the income, unfortunately. I mean, you could borrow more on the buy-to-lets, but that's not sure that's fixing the issue.
No. I mean, back again, like I said just now, you could throw that money into your mortgage. So the mortgage isn't $350 at that point. It's lower than it was. Or you throw the money into ISAs and aggressively build those up to go towards that 350 at that time. But
it'd be great if you could reduce that as you go.
Yes.
And that's, I think I'd certainly be modeling that. And that would be my kind of gut tendency, would be to reduce that mortgage as I go with overpayments. You make a big difference.
Yeah, because if you think you've shoved it back to your retirement, I think, haven't you said
state pension
age? Yeah. So if you were to throw money at your mortgage and chase that down, then you'd have the equivalent of not having extended it to your state pension age. You could have extended it to 5 years earlier than that by paying over the odds. So your contractual requirement on the mortgage is, your low amount because you've gone back to state pension age. But actually, if you throw more money at it, you've reduced the term effectively.
Yeah. Nick finishes off by saying, I hope I haven't broken any rules around length of email and number of questions. I can only hope you'll treat this with your customary humour and patience. Yeah. Job done.
I think we've done that.
Keep up the great work, guys. Best regards, Nick. You're welcome, Nick. I hope that's somewhat helpful.
Yes.
Question 5, Rush.
This question is from Charlotte. It says, hello, Pete and Roger. I'd like to say how your podcast has really helped me to focus on preparing for retirement, so thank you.
Good.
My question is, I'm in my early 60s, have 2 DB pensions, which will pay about £22,000 a year immediately if I choose, a full state pension at 67, and I have no mortgage and cash savings of £235,000, half of which is in cash ISAs.
Okay.
My DB pensions and state pension will be enough for my lifestyle. I may move home next year, hence the large cash savings, and also because I recently divorced, and that's how the settlement added to that figure. It was a coercive relationship, and I'm so worried now I hold too much cash as I've never had my own money to invest in a pension. Prior to the marriage and children, I did work and pay into a pension which will provide half of the DB pension as stated earlier, but that all stopped when I married. Should I start personal pension now, so close to retirement, if I know I'll have spare cash to pay the maximum 3/6, including tax relief, to take advantage of the tax relief, and build up a pot, not for income necessarily, but for care home fees, inheritance tax costs for my 2 young adult children? Or shouldn't I worry? Many thanks for your help. Wow.
It's starting again, really, isn't she? And sort of taking control of this stuff for probably the first time in a long time. I would say that there's no such thing as too much cash. You use the words too much cash, so I put them in quotes here. But, I mean, I've got a client who, when she first came to us, she looked me in the eye and said, I've got £250,000 in my current account. At which point, I picked myself up off the floor. But what she said was, but that means I never, ever think or worry about the other £250,000 that I'm going to give you to invest. And so we look after, it's a bit more than that now, obviously, because it's grown. But I did persuade her to move it out of her current account. She does have it now in a savings account. You don't keep that much money in your current account. It's just a recipe for having it all stolen by fraudsters. But, for her sleep at night figure was £250,000 in the bank. All right. And that's fine. There's no right or wrong. My gut says here, look, this is a brand new situation for you, Charlotte. You've got out of obviously a very challenging, coercive, in your words, relationship. I would have thought comfort, security, peace of mind are going to be really good for you.
Yeah, we're back to the what should I do? Well, you should do what you feel is right for you in your circumstances. What makes you feel comfortable? And because you've come from this relationship and now got this money for the first time, I wouldn't be doing any knee-jerk saying, oh, I have got to do something with it at all.
That's so important. There is no should. If it makes you comfortable to just sit and breathe and leave this money where it is, then that's fine. Okay, so please don't feel any pressure to sort of meet up to some kind of abstract standard because everybody's different. The reason we love the job so much is because it's a people business. Our job is to help people navigate the personal finance system based on their unique circumstances, and not just circumstances, but the way they tick. So we are as much psychologists as we are finance people, which is a bit worrying because neither of us have got a psychologist qualification to our name. But, just experience, you get to know people and find out how they tick, and then we can match sort of solutions to what they need. That said, I don't think there's any harm in paying into a pension. Is she working? Early 60s. I'm not sure.
No, I have DBs which will pay out in the future, or immediately if you choose. So it sounds like you're working. So you could actually pay more than the 3/6 in if you wanted to. On the basis you've got £235,000, there's no harm in throwing a few £1,000s at a pension at all. Get a bit of tax relief, get some free money off the government.
Yeah, that's right. And maybe you'll get sort of used to that idea, and just you kind of let the whole thing about investing and putting money into pensions, just let it sort of percolate and sink in and get used to it. If for no other reason, to bank that tax relief, build up maybe a tax-free cash lump sum in time. Pensions are great for that.
Yeah.
The fact is, you don't need a pension, but we got plenty of clients where they don't need to be paying into a pension. They've got all the money they need, but if it's free money from the government, you might as well bank it, right? So even if you're not earning 2,880 quid a year into a pension, gets made up to 3,600, it's free money, right? It's tax relief, particularly if you're not earning, it's very much free money because it's tax relief despite the fact that you're not paying any tax. So highly recommend you do that. But just take a beat. Don't hold yourself to an external standard. Just you be you and be comfortable, right? You need to get used to this new world you're living in. Okay. All the best, though, Charlotte.
Yeah.
This is from John. Dear Pete and Rog, thank you so much for your incredibly valuable podcast. I've learned a great deal from it and really appreciate the clarity and insight you bring to complex financial topics. Can't wait for the YouTube version to finally see what Rog looks like.
Oh, I hope I haven't disappointed.
The internet is crushed.
Yeah.
No.
It's going crazy now.
I nearly said something and I'm so glad I didn't. I said about to have edited it out. Okay, John goes on. I had a question that I hope you might be able to shed some light on. My wife... Just get that out of my head. My wife is from Slovakia, and we're likely to retire there in the future with our 2 children. Retire, okay. I understand that capital gains tax and inheritance tax are both 0 in Slovakia. That's reason enough. However, I've read that UK-situated assets remain within the scope of the UK inheritance tax even after leaving the UK, and that these would seem to include UK-domiciled OICs, such as the Vanguard Life Strategy 100% fund, which I currently hold in a general investment account. Would it therefore make sense to consider switching from Life Strategy 100 UK domiciled fund to an Ireland domiciled ETF, such as the Vanguard FTSE All World? Would doing so resolve the issue of UK inheritance tax exposure on those assets? Or transferring the UK OICs to a global investment platform, would that work? Seems too easy to be true, says John. Any other tips to look into before making the big move abroad? Thank you very much again for your time and for all the valuable information you share. Please keep it going. Best regards, John. I had to look this up.
Yeah, me too. I said, let's Google this a minute.
Yeah. And we'll put a link to a gov.uk page in the show notes or in the description of the video here. Because that page seems to me to specifically exclude holdings in authorized unit trusts and open-ended investment companies, exclude them from inheritance tax. So from my reading of that page, do you agree with this?
Well,
you just an intake of breath then. I felt like you were tutting at me.
Because there's another rule about being long-term residents. So that there are certain things that are caught. So I'm not sure whether it relates to authorized unit trust, but it tends to be assets that... Whether this this is more IHT than the capital gains tax. And it says that if you've been resident in the UK for 10 out of the last 20 years, you will still be caught for IHT, even if you live abroad. Now, I thought, hell, that means you're going to be away for 20 years, but it doesn't. It means you need to be out of the country for just over 10 years.
Right.
Because then within that 20... No, it wouldn't, would it? You have to get to 20... you would have to get to 20 years so that you spent less than 10 years... Oh, my goodness me.
So I'm reading this page. I've got it in front of me here now, listeners. And if you're based abroad, inheritance tax is only paid on your UK assets, for example, property or bank accounts in the UK. HMRC will treat you as being based abroad if you've lived in the UK for less than 10 years in the last 20. Yeah, good shout. Inheritance tax is not paid on excluded assets like foreign currency accounts, overseas pensions, and holdings in unit trusts and open investment companies.
Oh, right, okay.
See, you didn't see my bit, and I didn't see your bit. So between us, we got
there. We got there.
Yeah. Alone, we're inept. Together, we're a dream.
The sum is greater than the individuals. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, okay. So that being said, then, what should
I mean, moving to an international platform
John be doing?
Could easily be the way that fixes it.
You got to think that's got to be smart. I'm not sure. Ireland domiciled assets on a UK platform, I reckon, would still be deemed
They
UK
would still be a problem, I
assets.
think. Yes.
But if you can find an overseas platform, there used to be a platform called P1, I'm sure it is still there, and that's actually, you can hold overseas assets, and they actually will be domiciled overseas.
Right. Okay.
So that's something to look at, not a recommendation. It's just one that I know of. But, if there may be... The problem very often when people move away from the UK is that they assume that the financial services industry in the country in which they're going to is as developed and as heavily regulated as the one in the UK. We are unbelievably lucky here, not only for the protections for consumers of financial services in the UK, but the options available to us, low-cost direct-to-consumer platforms. These are just not available in lots of places. But do your homework. But I think you're right, Roger. I think actually shifting these assets to an overseas platform might
be the best route because it gets it offshore. Even buying an offshore fund within the offshore platform might be the way to go for you. But that might trigger some CGT over here if you're selling a fund anyway. But it depends on what your allowances are.
Yeah.
But again, it's if you plan to retire to Slovakia anyway, is a bit of a moot point if that's what you're planning to do. Whatever will be, will be.
Yeah. You're not going to decide not to move just because of the tax situation. You're going to, and it might be, it costs you a bit of capital gains tax, as Roger says, but, if that's what it takes to get the money abroad and make sure it's not at least subject to IHT if the worst happens to you in the near term, then that's reason enough, I would have thought.
Wow.
Properly varied.
And that was a real tester, that was.
That's really bizarre. That I spotted one thing on that page and you spotted something else, but neither of us spotted both of them.
Oh, well. We're trying to think, we've got the podcast coming, let's get in there quickly, but I don't know.
Just need to be better prepared, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I hope those answers, if they were answers, were helpful. Please keep your questions coming. We do enjoy this, and from the feedback we get, listeners say they love it as well, because you might find stuff that applies to you or may not, but it's still very interesting. So please keep them coming to hello@meaningfulmoney.tv with the subject line podcast question, and Nick will sift them through to us.
Yeah. It's actually, this was sort of intended, the whole Q&A thing was a bit of a stopgap, because there was various other things going on. I was really struggling to write the full-length podcasts, and it's just gone nuts. People love it.
It has. I remember when you first said it, it's like, well, we've got enough questions for 5 episodes. Oh, that'd be great. Then we get those done. And it's like, well, actually, we've got another 5 now.
Yeah, and another 5. And I think we've got at least 10, if not 12 behind us that we can, still get to. So keep the questions coming. As we did a couple of weeks ago, we will pepper them with individual episodes. So, keep them coming and we'll keep doing them, and give us any feedback as well. So any links we talked about, they're at the show notes, which is meaningfulmoney.tv/QA34. There's a link in the description to that, but we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Thank you, Mr. Roger Weeks, with your lovely shirt.
Yes, well, I do try.
We'll talk to you next time.